Tonight, the 7 Action News investigators take you inside the mind of a suicide bomber.
It is the chilling story of the underwear bomber who nearly took down a jetliner in Detroit on Christmas Day back in 2009.
Investigator Scott Lewis talks exclusively with 2 Detroit FBI agents who led the investigation, and tonight they're revealing new information.
A lot of intriguing details you're about to hear that might have come out during a trial but didn't because the underwear bomber pleaded guilty. These agents say they don't often get a chance to interrogate a suicide bomber, especially one like this, who ended up singing like a canary about what he did, how he did it, and why. Would you look at this guy and say he's a terrorist?
I think in no way, shape, or form.
His tone, his conversation, he's very reserved, he's deliberate in his speech.
The witnesses remarked about how he just looked like a simple young schoolboy.
But appearances don't match reality in the case of Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab. Agents say he was an extreme fanatic and a very dangerous man. He was hell-bent on taking down a jumbo jet over Detroit with no consideration for the hundreds who would die in the plane and on the ground.
He is completely different than any terrorist that I've had the ability to talk to in my career. The degree of conviction that he had to the cause is unparalleled.
Within hours of the failed bombing, Abdulmutallab had confessed and admitted he was working for al-Qaeda. But he also gave the FBI misinformation in an elaborate cover story.
Probably less than 10% of what he said the first day was actually truthful.
So Special Agent Mike Connolly and a partner packed up and headed for Nigeria, Abdulmutallab's hometown.
Our responsibility was primarily to find out who sent him, whether there were any other attacks, and determine if there was a motivation for why he did what he did.
And when they met the underwear bomber's family, they were as different as day and night.
A tremendous extended family that had a great amount of national pride and pride in their religion. They were shocked at what he had done.
Abdulmutallab's father was a wealthy banker. The parents cared deeply for him and sent him to the finest private schools. At a young age, Abdulmutallab became obsessed with radical Islam, seeking out information on the internet.
He almost was, going through his life, especially from the high school years on, with a thought that this was something that he really wanted to do, which is participate in jihad.
Abdulmutallab became a devoted follower of Anwar al-Awlaki, an American-born recruiter and motivator for al-Qaeda working in Yemen. And here's something that'll probably surprise you. Abdulmutallab was not recruited by al-Qaeda. He actually recruited al-Qaeda.
And he sought out al-Qaeda relentlessly. I mean, he persisted and persisted, and he was almost turned away at times, by al-Qaeda, but he refused to relent.
I think it was a kind of a gift, the way they viewed it, the way al-Qaeda viewed it when he came to them, seeking to do this act of jihad.
Abdulmutallab left Britain, where he was working on a master's degree in engineering, and headed for an al-Qaeda training camp in Yemen and cut off contact with his parents.
They received the final text from him when he was in Yemen, and then they couldn't get a hold of him again, and they were distraught.
For Abdulmutallab, convincing al-Qaeda he was for real took some doing. They scrutinized him at their training camp for a long time.
And I think that once they evaluated his conviction was absolute, they determined that his best role was going to be as a suicide bomber.
Where did he get the money to do this?
He brought his own money to Yemen.
Armed with information he got from his trip to Nigeria, Agent Connolly returned to Detroit, somehow got into Abdulmutallab's head and got him to talk about everything.
And to be able to kind of get into that mindset and have him tell you for months, every day for months, about who he is and why he did what he did was really important.
Abdulmutallab told Agent Connolly he viewed Christians as ignorant and Muslims who didn't participate in jihad as traitors.
He had more anger towards American Muslims, and really Muslims around the world that don't participate in jihad, than he did against Christians.
During his almost daily conversations with the underwear bomber, Connolly got invaluable intelligence. Abdulmutallab even gave up the names of other terrorists in the pipeline. In his mind, he was doing them a favor. He believed if the others were tracked down and killed, it would be the ultimate honor for them. They would become martyrs. The confession that Agent Ted Pysick got on the first day without reading Abdulmutallab his Miranda rights held up in court. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 life terms. Agents believe the underwear bomber confessed because he was so proud of what he had done, and he wanted the world to know.
Ted and his team did an outstanding job of convicting him, and that was important. That was critical, because he would do the same exact thing again today if he was provided the opportunity without batting an eye. And we even asked him that.
Piecyk and Connolly work closely with other lawmen locally and around the world and develop some lasting relationships that they say are helping in the war on terror. Piecyk says a large part of the camp where the underwear bomber trained has now been eliminated. Abdulmutallab's mentor, Anwar Awlaki, was killed by a U.S. drone attack in September of last year. And just recently, agents Piecyk and Connolly were given the Attorney General's Award, the highest honor an agent can get for their work on this case. I'm Scott Lewis, 7 Action News.